Hey guys, welcome back to Nature's Cadence Farm. Today we're going to be working on our 2005 Dodge Grand Caravan, and what I'm going to be doing is actually changing the transmission fluid and filter. And so what I've got going on here, I don't know if you can hear it in the background, I've got a catch reservoir, and what this is doing is catching the transmission fluid that I'm sucking out of the transmission right now with this dip tube. You can see this is just a clear tube, and I push it down in there far enough to where it gets into the fluid, and there it goes. You can see the clear tube makes it really nice. You can see the fluid coming up through there. And I'll get you down here on the ground and I'll show you the vacuum pump. So this is the vacuum pump. This is an air conditioning vacuum pump, and for pulling a vacuum on refrigerant systems. You can see I've just got a hose going up here to a fitting, like a solder-in fitting, or a service valve. That's what it's called. Golly. Anyways, and then it goes through a rubber hose and into one side of the suction reservoir. You can see it's about full, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut the pump off. So you can see here it's about full, and so one side goes to the vacuum, this side right here, and this side right here goes just into a hose, and that hose just goes down into the dipstick tube there. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump this and keep evacuating this fluid. That'll be the first step. I like to go ahead and get started on this because it does take just a little bit, maybe 5 minutes, but I'm getting tools and all together while I'm waiting on this to pump down. Alright, while that's pumping down, we can go ahead and talk about the transmission filter kit that I have. This is an 85934. I'm going to be using this Royal Purple Max ATF, and it says it takes 4 quarts, at least on this right here. It says service fill, 4 quarts it says on the side. So that's kind of nice. I got 5 just in case. And all the specs on here, this says it's for the Chrysler ATF plus 4. So there's the specs on that. And yeah, I've used this in the past in this van actually, and that's what's in here. And I want to say it's probably got another 50,000 miles, 40,000 miles, somewhere in there. So I just like to keep on top of my transmission fluid changes. So let me go get some tools and I'll show you what tools we're going to use too. I've just got my swivel head gear wrench ratchet here. This should be all I need. I've got a 3-inch extension, 3/8 drive, and then this is a 10mm deep well impact. It's just what I got my hands on first. I have a regular non-impact socket in there too, but this should be all you really need, because this just has an O-ring and it snaps up into there, and then this is it. So we'll crawl up underneath of there and get this pan off as soon as we get done pumping it down. So one more thing we're going to need is a drain pan, and this is one of my favorite drain pans to make. You can buy drain pans, but this is just an old 2.5 gallon Rotella bottle. It's got a pour spout on the side there. Makes it really nice, you know, because you can catch everything in here, and then you just, you know, you kind of carry it back, and then you can loosen this cap and just dump it right out. This works perfect for a lot of things that I do. Alright, we got about 3 of those jars out of the transmission. Sounds about right. There's probably a little bit left in the bottom there, but not so much that it'll just run out everywhere. So let's get underneath of here with our ratchet and socket and our little drain pan and get this pan off. Got a 10mm socket here. We're going to go ahead and pop these guys off. Remember, when these are put back on, they're torqued, and hopefully they're torqued to the proper spec. Thankfully these aren't crazy tight or anything, because it looks like the last time I did it I torqued them down with a torque wrench. So I'm just going to go around here, loosen all these guys up, and we'll get it popped off of here in just a second. I don't know if you can see that, but I just got the pan loose. You can see it kind of moving here, and that's what's just barely dripping out of there. It's exactly what I was looking for when I got started with this. So that's perfect. I'm going to go ahead and keep trying to get this pan off of here. Alright, there's all the bolts out. I'm going to go ahead and lower this pan down really slow. That's, oh yeah. I don't know if you can see that. There's just nothing left in there. I'll leave this here to catch some of this the dripping out of the filter. So I'm just going to let it kind of collect there for a minute. I'll go ahead and pop this filter off of here. It should just be held in place with friction. There we go. Just kind of working it around here gently. There should be two little plastic friction holders on there, and that's just these two guys right here. There's one here, and then there's one right here. So that's all it holds it in there. So there we go. We're just checking to make sure the O-ring came out, and yeah, it did. And so that's good. So we'll just drop this in here. I'm going to clean this oil pan up, the drain pan, or the drain pan, the pan for the transmission. We'll go ahead and get this gasket off of here too. There we go. Looks like it's just popping right off of there. So what I'll do is I'll double check that this gasket is the same one that came in the kit. Okay, got the transmission pan all cleaned up, got the magnet cleaned up, and everything looks great. So let's go ahead and check that gasket. Got the new gasket here, and you can see it lines up hole for hole perfect. So this is great. We're going to go ahead and move forward with putting this on. What I like to do is go ahead and get 4 bolts started in the corners, and what that does is it holds the gasket in place and gives you something to get started in the holes of the transmission when you go to put your pan in. So I've got my filter here, and let's go ahead and snap that back in place. Don't forget your O-ring. I went ahead and put the new one on right there on the little pickup spout, and you can see this open slot goes toward the bottom, and the O-ring goes in there, and then it just snaps into place just like that. Went ahead and wiped my grubby fingerprints off of the filter with my rag there, and kind of got some of this extra transmission fluid mopped up. So we've got our pan here, and we're going to go back the same orientation that it was, and being careful not to cross thread these bolts into here. And we're just going to run them in by hand just a little bit there to make sure they engage the threads. So I'm going to go around now and go ahead and put in all the bolts in the pan, and we'll get them tightened up and torqued down. Got all the bolts kind of hand tightened, but not torqued for sure. You can still kind of move them with your hand a little bit. I'm going to go get the torque wrench now, and we're going to put some torque on these bolts. Got a torque wrench here, and the torque spec said 120 inch-pounds or 10 foot-pounds. I feel that's a little much, so I dropped it back to 60 inch-pounds, and that looks like it's doing about right. It's not squeezing the gasket out, and it's you know, it feels about right, because you definitely don't want to over tighten these things. Maybe if you were using RTV or something on there. I'm using the rubber gasket from the kit, so I'm gonna go around here and check all these and get them all torqued down. Got everything torqued down underneath there, and double checked to make sure everything was installed right, and it was. So now we're going to go ahead and put our transmission fluid in here. I'm going to start off with 2 or 3 quarts and start it up and see if it'll show up on the dipstick. But let's go ahead and pour some of this in here. Got the van on level ground, went ahead and backed it off of the ramps, and I've got it in park and kind of running there. I'm just going to check the fluid level real quick just to see where we're at. Okay, barely on the bottom of the dipstick there. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. but looks like it needs another maybe quart or two. So let's go ahead and put some of that in there. We'll start with a half a quart and check it in just a second, let that kind of drain down, and then we'll see what we got. Put that half a quart in there. You can see it raised it up a little bit. It's really close to the add mark. So I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest of this half a quart in there and see what that does. Alright, adding that last little bit, put it right to the cold full line almost. So what I'm going to do is take it for a little test drive, maybe take it to work tomorrow or something, but yeah, I'm good with that. Let's see if it goes into gear and everything works the way it should. Alright guys, well there you go. You can see it went into gear. Pretty happy about that. Everything looks great. I checked underneath of there, no leaks, no drips. I'm going to obviously take it for a test drive and check that fluid level one more time, maybe top it off, whatever it needs, and then that'll be it. So super easy. You guys can do this. I know you can. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time. What I'll do is